Hey there, everybody. This is Liz from Augusta, and today I have a very special someone for you. I always interview owners typically, and today I wanted to introduce to you a general manager. They have so much of a different angle to give to us. And if you could just introduce yourself and tell us who you are and where you're from.
I'm Anthony. I'm currently the general manager of the West Hampton location in Long Island, New York. Originally, I'm a Long Islander at heart, but I grew up on the opposite side of Long Island and kind of migrated more out east. But kind of like on the border of Queens area. Uh,
Okay. And what's your background like? Were you raised to be in lawn care, or what did you do before you came to Augusta?
it was actually in my blood. I mean, my grandfather owned a landscaping company, and I remember always liking to go outside. And even I didn't know much back then, but it was in my blood. And I also worked for New York State Parks for a long time. That's kind of where I got my bread and butter with the zero turns and operating heavy equipment and all that stuff. So
So you are a GM for Jason.
correct.
And how did Jason come to Augusta?
Jason was an owner of a company prior, and Augusta has a long reach, and he just liked the systems and everything prior. He wanted to systematize things, get things more simple because Jason's a busy man in himself. He's an entrepreneur. He owns a couple businesses and works a full-time job. So he liked the way Augusta had the systems, and he didn't need to be as involved and have to put his 100% effort. He's got kids and all that other good stuff, so he's running around crazy. So
Did he have a lawn care business before Augusta?
he did. It was called Hampton's Landscaping prior to Augusta. Yes.
So how did you come to get to know Jason?
Um, when I prior after leaving New York State Parks, I had worked for a landscaping company a little bit further out east in Southampton, and the traffic there in the morning is crazy. So it backed up, and I was like thinking about it, and I wanted to get something closer. And when I interviewed with Jason, he kind of liked the leadership, I guess, skills that I had possessed, and he offered me a position of being a general manager to try me out. So
So right from the beginning, he wanted you to be a GM.
he did. I was surprised. I mean, I definitely feel like I have leadership skills, but I'd be lying to you if I told you I definitely wasn't nervous jumping into it.
So he saw something in you that you didn't really know you had yourself.
That's me. I'm definitely a harsh critic of myself. When I tend to believe in myself, things kind of go the way I want them to, not the way I want them to go, the way they should go. It kind of took a pat on the back, and you could do this, and a belief in me that was instilled in me to kind of take this role on.
I love that. So he had a couple other businesses, correct?
Correct.
So he probably didn't have a lot of time for you to really nurture you and help you with this business. Did he just kind of throw you in and you had to figure it out?
He did not. He didn't throw me in to figure it out. He definitely kind of held my hand for a little while, and he always pushed the training videos that you guys do online, and Command Center helped out a lot. And it was a learning process. I kind of leaned on Command Center for a while until I figured things out. And yeah, he definitely helped me out and was there. It was a little bit of a rough start in the beginning.
So now you were a part of his landscape business, but when he became an Augustan, a part of Augusta Nation, were you already with him at that time and transferred to Augusta, or was it after he came to Augusta that you came to be with him?
I came to be with him after he became an Augustan. He had a general manager prior, and things didn't work out. Um, so I kind of came, and that's where I learned about the Augusta way, so to say.
So you are the one who came for training, though. As far as I know, I've never even met Jason or talked to him except on a chat from Command Center.
He's a busy guy. He's definitely a busy guy, and being in his position, that's kind of why I idolize him a bit. Is he has a lot on his plate, and he definitely handles it. So it's more of an idol. I know it's not answering your question, but he
No,
has a
that's
lot.
great.
Yeah. So.
That really leads into some of the other questions I'll have for you. But so he had a lot of confidence in you and he sent you up here for the training, correct?
Correct.
And how did that go when you were here? Did it all make sense to you? Was it completely overwhelming?
It was overwhelming at first because I didn't know anybody, and I tend to think of myself sometimes as a social person, but just learning from ideas and seeing what people built in these businesses, I was like, that's insane. And I definitely learned a lot of things from a lot of people, and now I have relationships with these people. So it kind of just takes putting your foot in the door, swallowing your pride and saying what's actually going on. And someone probably dealt with that situation as well. So that's how you learn.
It is. So he had enough confidence in you to really, it seems, to let you run the business as if it was your own, as if you were the owner. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So is he involved at all?
Jason is definitely involved in the back end of things. When we go over the books, or if there's big purchases that need to be made, that needs to be run past Jason. Our numbers at the end of the month. Sometimes he'll pop up in a team meeting. He's involved in those ways. I'm usually involved with more of the day-to-day activities that go on, scheduling, running the crew, dealing with customers, estimates, all that other good stuff that comes along with this.
Yeah. So tell us about your team. How many crew do you have and how many trucks?
We currently have 5 trucks, and we also have an estimator car. Um, my crew, I have 6 good, solid guys right now.
Awesome.
It's they listen. They're team oriented, and I'm one of them as well. So it's not like I'm sitting there and pointing the finger. I kind of jump in the field with these guys as well. So
Okay. So you're doing estimates, you're routing and dispatching, and you're working in the field?
yes.
And is your goal to move yourself out of the field into just an office estimator role?
I would love to say that, Liz. I definitely like to get my hands dirty, and sometimes I have to stop and meet a customer and everything. But it's just something that I like to do. I like to be outside. I like to work. I love mowing lawns. It's like you take pride in your work after you look at it. So I would like to say my goal would be that, but I sometimes I love being in the field.
What kind of services do you guys offer?
We do. We're pretty much a full landscape service company. We don't really do hardscapes. We do a lot of cleanups, mulch jobs, tree pruning, weeding, obviously lawn mowing. We do lawn treatments. That's my favorite, is because when you do a lawn and you come back 2 weeks later and it's a completely different lawn, you tend to smile and take a little bit of pride in your work. So
I love it. So, who decided to simplify services like this? Did you have more services in your repertoire before?
there were services prior to when I came. I'm not sure if it was when Jason was with Augusta, but just the trying to localize things and simplify and excel in what we offer. Other things could come, we could try, and we could experiment on our downtime, but what we're good at, we like to do. So it was more of an Augusta way. It was, simplify what you got to do and what you do and what works for you.
Now, do you do the hiring also?
I do. I definitely
So,
do.
so you put the ad up and then you call them, contact them, and then do all of the interviewing and hiring.
I do. Yes.
And
It's
do you need to run that by Jason each time?
hiring. I do not. Um, he definitely entrusted me in that, and I've had some employees in the past that didn't work out, and usually, I can hire. I don't want to sound too blunt, but I can hire and fire, if I need to and when I need to. So
So that's pretty awesome that you have 6 guys on your team now. Do you feel like that's because you work out in the field with them and have created a good culture?
I definitely feel that, and these guys, they check in with me. If any issues happen, they'll tell me, and I could. It's kind of hard in this industry to say that you could trust some
Yes,
people, because they're not in eyesight at all times, and they
right.
have the microscope in them. And sometimes people tend to use that to their advantage and kind of cheat the system. But I haven't had any issues with these guys, and they respect me, and they know sometimes I pop up and I'll jump on the job with them. If they don't want to do anything, I'll help them learn. So
How has it been for you coming to Augusta and the whole mentality of having to follow systems when you weren't the person that were bought in the beginning?
It was different. It was different because sometimes you're instilled in your own way, and me, I'd like to say, how do I word it? I like to say that I think I know everything, but I don't. And jumping into this business and after a while seeing the way it worked for others, I'm like, if it worked for others, why would it not work for us as well? So definitely gotta buy into those systems.
And so, do you listen to the content? And just for the listeners, Mike does a mastermind every day. So there's constantly questions that the franchisees can ask. Do you listen to any of the content online and stay up to date with those things?
I listen to the mastermind every day. If I don't get to it during the day, I catch it when I'm taking a couple breaths at night. I the content, that the reels that you guys put out is some funny stuff, man, and it just shows you some of the customers that we have to deal with and the odd things, so to say, that happen. It's a
Yes.
business, so it kind of gets a little crazy sometimes. But I love
So,
the.
actually asking that, when you have your customers out in the field and they demand to speak to the owner, how do you handle that?
I don't. The way I like, what I like about Augusta is the way we make it seem is that there's a bigger owner somewhere. I'm,
Yes.
I'm just a field manager. If I can attend to their problems, yes, that's great. If I can't, they call command center and command center handles it. That's what I like about this, is you don't need to feel the pressure. I mean, sometimes there was old customers that wanted to reach out to Jason personally because they knew him, but they didn't buy into the systems. And if they're not going to buy into the systems, then we had to get rid of some of them. Unfortunately, they were used to being catered to. So
Yeah. So, before you came to Augusta, you worked for a lawn care company. Did you own a lawn care company?
I did not. I did
And
not.
s- and so the company you worked for, did you have a CRM or any kind of systems in that business?
We did, and that's actually how I learned about it. They used Aspire,
Okay.
and learning Service Autopilot, especially on my side as well, was a little different because I was just used to clocking into jobs and clocking out of them. So now there's so much more that Service Autopilot does. But yeah, CRM is definitely helpful. Very.
Yeah. So, the most important thing I really wanted to address with you today is the dynamic between the GM and the owner. And this is something a lot of people struggle with. To be the second in command, I'm the second in command, and it takes a certain mentality and a certain kind of person to recognize what they are and to find their place within a business like this under the owner. So, what is your relationship like with Jason?
Jason's a great guy, and I really can't compliment the man enough. Just like I said prior, just entrusting in me to run his business. Like I told you, that was a lot of pressure on me at first, but once you start seeing results and things start moving in the positive end, our relationship has been great. I
Have you had times in the business where you've kind of come up against a spot? Maybe the roles aren't delegated perfectly, like the lines are not clearly delineated, and you guys kind of clash. Do you have that happen often?
Not often. It has happened. It has happened in a certain aspect, like a couple things were out of order in the shop and in the back, and we clashed and we talked about it. And like I said, I respect him. So his decision, it's his business. At the end of the day, I can make a decision. If he doesn't like it, I have to recall it. So
Yes. So when you're in those moments, do you stand up for yourself and for your opinion? And does he value that and back off if you're right?
if I feel that I'm wrong, I'll admit I'm wrong. If I feel like there's something we need to do, and I'm confident about it, because usually the daily operations I know about it, I will push up on it and kind of make my voice heard in that situation. So
Have you had those moments when you're talking about employees?
we have, um, and he notices things sometimes I don't. He'll come to the shop and tell me a couple things that I missed during the day. So even employees, sometimes one time I had a guy, I didn't even realize he had a different hat on. Just kind of try to be professional, and I noticed a couple things like that. And now, like I said, he points me in the right direction. He just says what he has to say. Doesn't dwell on it, but I respect his opinion and value it. So
When he walks into a team meeting like that, do you kind of turn it over to him, or does he come to just support what you're doing?
the one team meeting that recently that we had, I turned it over to Jason. And at any points that need to be made, I have no problem jumping in and saying what I have to say. But most of the time, if there's a team meeting, it's me. If he's there, it's his show. I let it go to him. So
Yeah, so you kind of back off when he's around and let him say what he needs to say.
yes, I definitely do.
Okay, so anybody listening that is a GM, they are thinking that you guys are very blessed to have the relationship that you do. What would you say to someone who is the GM and the owner is always in their business and always being critical? Would you suggest to them that they keep trying to work it out with them, or is there a certain point that you think they would need to move on and start their own thing if they felt like they had all the answers?
I mean, that's something that needs to be important, is your relationship with the owner. If the micromanaging on the owner's part, definitely I wouldn't like that either, because it would be like, if you want me to be your general manager, you should let me make some of the decisions, not always. It just, I think that a relationship with the owner is important, and the micromanaging shouldn't be done. I feel like you should let your GM, if you entrust in them, obviously not at first, but if you entrust in them, let them do what they do and run it like their own business.
So he has to believe in you and then let you run with it and trust you entirely that you're going to handle things the way he would want to. And then if you have an issue, you'll check back with him to see if he's okay with something.
Correct. Definitely.
Yeah, so this is pretty rare and wonderful. I would say that's the relationship I have with Mike also. And I think that that is a big thing, is for an owner to say, I trust you and you run the business, you run it this way, and then you come back and you can check with me. Is this okay? Can we do this? Are you cool with that? Do you have an issue with this? What do you see that I'm not seeing? And then trust you to just take off and do your thing. Do you feel like that it's made the business so much more profitable because he's a little more hands off?
I do. I do. Like I said prior, coming in last year, it wasn't the right way. And through his direction, his input, me valuing his input and also my input, it's gotten to the point where now we actually are becoming a profitable business. It's just everyone is equal in this. Obviously the owner makes the final decisions, but everyone's equal. It comes from me, not just me, my team members as well. It's yeah.
And so he has these other businesses. So is it mingled at all? Do you have any interaction with the other companies and with their employees?
I do. My office is very close to the general manager of Mosquito Joe. Just those daily interactions their business is their business. My business is my business. We don't get involved in each other's stuff. I mean, sometimes we talk, we're friends, we'll have lunch, but besides that, everything is separate. So,
What are the other businesses that he owns?
he owns Mosquito Joe, and like I said before, he's also a full-time social worker at a high school out here. So.
Wow. Yeah. So he must be pretty influential if he deals with teenagers.
Yeah, he does, and he has three of his own, so it's a busy man.
So if you were in the middle of the day and you have all these separate routes going and you need to switch the routes up, and he walked in and he said, "Oh, so and so, you should go do that and you should go do that." Would you say, "Whoa, whoa, 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 I have this handled"? Would you feel like you could do something like that?
I do, um, I do, I definitely do, and it's routing and stuff like that. Whatever makes sense at that moment in time, we do it. If we mess up later, we can have a discussion. But in the heat of things, if that's the way it should go, I feel like I have that decision.
So you believe, like, right in the middle of the mission or when things are going down, you guys don't show anything in front of the team? Any, like, you're upset with each other, frustrated with each other? Do you keep that kind of on the back burner till you're away and alone?
I do. I definitely feel like leadership is supposed to maintain their composure at all times. Even Liz, you know, even in this side of the business, things get crazy, especially this time of year, and emotions fly between the crew. But it's my job and his job as well to stay calm, cool, and collected. So we kind of keep that to ourselves.
Yeah. So what about things like email and the invoicing and stuff like that? Does he do anything in the email, or do you completely handle those accounts too?
I handle the majority of those. There's certain things that Jason does as far as insurance or registering a vehicle, or obviously he deals with the banking and everything at the end. But you know, everything is open. I mean, we could both, if I ever needed to lean on Jason for something, there's no problem doing it. I Most of the time I handle it, but yeah, that's he deals with obviously the financial aspect of the business and the culture wise. So
So,
purchasing.
so you have your roles pretty well designated to each of you, right?
Yes.
That's good. And then let's say you're both in the, it sounds like you're both in the same email. Do you have like a folder that you have that you pull things into for him? Because I can see like if the owner's sitting there and he's seeing these emails come in and there's some from specific customers or about specific jobs or they're upset with something, do you think he would ever jump into that email and respond to it?
Uh, Most of the time, if there's certain emails like that that are important and we don't know who's going to decide on it, we'll bounce it off each other first. So we're not going to double email somebody or anything like that. We discuss things. There was an issue we had with two past clients prior from last year that jumped on, and we were discussing it over the winter. We wanted to get rid of a lot of them, but you know, when they emailed, I was like, I think it's time. And he was like, I think it's time too. So we kind of figured out what exactly we were going to say, and you know, he lets me say it for me, like it's my business. So
So he would have you do the responding and the reaching out to the customer, not him.
no, correct.
Yeah, that's really important, I think. I found that when Mike would hand things off to me, that every time, even if he wanted to say something, he would have me type it out from me.
Mm-hmm.
It would, because what we found is if the owner ever jumped in there and wrote an email, suddenly they want the owner again.
Yep, they always want to talk to the top guy. So
Yeah, they
everyone,
already, now they've already gotten used to you and have been asking for the owner all this time. Now you're their guy, and if they see that the owner jumps back in, it's just like it's like the business backtracks almost,
mm-hmm.
and it's not healthy, I don't think.
Yeah, I feel like, you know, it's he's the man in charge. Obviously, I'll bounce it past him, but you know, there would be no point for a general manager at that time. I don't feel like, you know,
Exactly.
it's that's what I was hired to do, was to run these daily operations. And like I said, I have a lot of interactions with customers. Sometimes it gets too much, and I have to push it off the command center because I can't be. I'm one man. I can't be in 1,000 places at once. And at this time of year, that's where you got
Yeah.
to be. So.
Yeah, it's actually amazing that we could both even find the time to do this at this time of year.
It's yeah. That's why we had to do it on a Saturday. It was definitely a little bit of a lighter Saturday. So I'm glad you know, with the time difference too, we had this time to do this. I was excited. So
Yeah, so and when I think of the employees now at Command Center, the listeners don't all know what that is. So Command Center is a place where we answer the phone. We can basically be the office manager or a secretary and do everything that a secretary would do, so you don't have to have one. So in that regard, do you actually have an office where you have a computer and a place that you rent and all of those things?
we do. We have a shop. Yes, I have my own office, and I got two offices. I'm pretty much working all the time, and I got an office in my room as well. So
So if you didn't have Command Center, you would probably need to hire an assistant, right?
yes, definitely would.
So this takes the place of that. So what do you have Command do for you?
Command center. Usually, I'll type out the estimates. They do the creation of it.
Okay.
Sometimes, if I don't have time, they reach out to people for collection calls. They answer emails for me. Obviously, we run past things. We have a chat as well where we talk to each other, and we kind of get an idea of the situation that's going on. I mean, with Command Center being in Washington, we like to know exactly. We're on completely different ends of the map, but they they handle my estimates. Like I said, they deal with clients. They pick up our phone calls. They set up estimates for me to do drive-bys. They do over the phone estimates, which take a lot of pressure off me. If I get a couple, they could do it over the phone, which is amazing.
Mhm.
There's so many things that Command Center does for me. I like I said, I'm extremely grateful for them. So
Yeah, and my team at Command Center love working with you. So as far as they know, it seems like you're the owner because none of them have ever met the owner.
yeah, Jason, he'll hop in the chat sometimes, but a lot of them deal with me. I mean, shout out to Brian Rand. He's amazing, man.
Yeah,
He's
well
definitely
maybe I'll get him to watch since his name was mentioned.
yeah. I gave him a shout out. There's like I said, there's a lot of people over there, and Jaden, Samantha, these Shelly, Jerry. These people are great. They really are, and I couldn't be grateful. I couldn't be more grateful for them. So.
So when you have your team and you try to lead them, what kind of materials or things do you try to get them to listen to, or how do you try to influence them?
You know what was awesome, and I'm kind of glad you brought that up. Is I try to talk to my guys a lot about business because I growing up, I didn't finish, but I went to college for business administration. My father owned a business. My grandfather owned a business. My father owned actually two businesses. So this was something that I wanted to do, and I started getting leadership things. So I try to push that on the guys a lot. Jason, we talked about it. We all have an Audible account we can listen to, and a lot of business-minded books are in there. And I try to push my guys to listen to it. I try to teach them how to deal with customers directly. If we get a yellow slip, I want them to start dealing with that. I want them to start realizing that the business, can't run without them either.
So the 3F program, do you talk to them about that? Is that something that they are interested in?
I do have a couple crew members who I brought that up to, and at this time of year we haven't really had time to talk about much, but a lot of these guys are aware of it and the potential that's in Augusta and what we could do, and some of these guys are excited and are willing to stay on board for a while. So.
Have you noticed, like, if you didn't know who was listening to Audible books or any of that material, would you probably be able to guess by the changes you're seeing in them?
I could. It just happens in somebody's aura, the way they talk, the things that they start saying, or even when they start telling me, like, I think we should go about it this way. I will respect them in doing that rather than blowing my phone up all day on certain issues that need to be, attended to. They're making their own decisions. That's how I know that employee's starting to listen and buy into the system.
What kind of books do you typically recommend to them when they start?
We have a couple. There's a great book. I would have to pull it up off the top of my head. There's a lot of Elon Musk books that I listen to.
Mm.
There's another book. I'm on my phone. I can't pull up my Audible account, but I listened to it in February. It was a great book. It was about business and how you have to have your personal life in order
Mm.
to not let that flow over into the business, because people could sit there and say, I'm great, I'd rather just work. But if you don't have your personal life in order, you're not going to be 100%, and I've had some issues where I've had to deal with personal things, but I have to put those aside as well. So
Are you pretty good at detaching from all of those other things? And when you come to work, you're just doing work?
yes, I love this. This is, sometimes it's my out. And sometimes, even I go in on Sundays just to check in and set up. And sometimes I'm like, I might need to take some time to myself a little bit, hang out with my kids, or, this is what I love to do. And sometimes I love it too much that it takes a lot away from me. So.
Well, they say if it's your life and you don't really need a vacation because you love what you're doing.
No, I wake up with a smile on my face, ready to go every morning. Sometimes that smile will turn to a frown very quickly, but I'm ready to go the next day.
So, do you have a wife and children?
I split up from my ex. I have two young children. My daughter Elizabeth, she's my heart and soul. She's 4, and I have a junior, Anthony Jr. He's exactly like me. He's a little bit of a terror. It's kind of like a return, I guess, for what I was when I was younger. So
It's payback.
yeah, it's definitely payback.
Yeah. So for yourself and trying to do all these things, and you have 2 little kids, how do you juggle all of that with your children?
Um, you know, Basically with everything that we're not together anymore, we kind of have set things. The weekends are usually mine with the kids, and that's what I look forward to. So I grind all week, I obviously I speak to my kids morning and night. They love daddy. I love them too. And then Saturdays and Sundays is just playtime. It's like I'm a little kid again.
That's awesome. So do you talk about the business with your children?
My children really don't understand it, but my daughter, she likes the hat. They say, I remember on my birthday, it was a couple weeks ago. My kids were at the shop and we playing around. I took my daughter around on the mower. It's kind of cool because these are the things that were done to me as a kid, and you see how it worked out for me. The things come back to you, and you're instilled in them as a little kid. So I would love for my daughter to be a business owner. I'd love for my son to be a business owner. But whatever direction they want to take is up to them. That's their decision.
Yeah. So you come from a long line of business owners. So why not step out and own your own business rather than work for Jason?
At this point in time, that the plan is eventually to open up my own business, but I want the experience first. I want to see what's going on this side and what I want to learn from. I don't want to go into a business and get completely hit over the head, because I need to know what's going on before I jump into something. I was never a gambler. I was never a gambler. I gotta know my hand prior.
So when someone is the GM and they're working with the owner, is the pay usually salary and then some sort of compensation on profit?
Yes, I am a salaried worker, and on a quarterly basis, I receive profits, and on a yearly basis, I receive profits on a growth on how big we grow that year. So
I love it. So then that is very motivating for you to make the company profitable.
yeah, because look, that's the thing that Mike talked about. I didn't understand it at first, but it's like even with let me speak on my end first. It's like if the business isn't making money, I'm not going to make money. If
Right.
the business isn't making money, with the employees aren't going to make money. That's why I know I'm jumping the gun, but that P for P thing, when I see him talk about it a lot, is if you want to push these guys to be efficient and make all this money, because if they mess up, you could take it away from them and they'll learn from their mistake. It's about kind of giving like a smack on the wrist a little bit. Sometimes you need that. So
Yeah, so it's the same for you.
mhm.
The harder you work, the more you're going to make, and that makes this worth it.
It does make it worth it, and you learn a lot on this
Yeah.
side too. So it's not only just about work. I've learned a lot about people and how to talk. It's just running a business has done a lot for me.
So I'm sure the whole way P for P is set up and the way the profit structure is for you, that you basically can think of yourself as an owner and run it as if it was your own business.
Correct, which is awesome.
Yeah. So is Jason's goal to own another location and then you run both of them, or no more Augusta, just this one location?
No, we're expanding. That's our goal, and we've been talking about it on trying to push out to a second location, hopefully by the end of this year. Like Augusta's getting pretty big and has a reach. So
Mm-hmm.
we want to try to get our own territory closer to us before anybody else jumps on it. But that's the plan: is to grow this business, and the
So
end
so
result is make
then
money.
So would you work yourself out of the field and have some of these guys able to do all the work, and then you'd be able to start the other location and then just go between the two of them doing estimates, and then you'd almost turn into a regional manager if you had several locations?
Yeah, and that's the goal too. Would be to jump up to a regional manager and try to groom these guys on the things that I'm doing now. And I talk to him about it a lot, but that would be the goal. Like Chuck, uh, I don't know how he does it sometimes, running all those locations, but he handles himself. That's another man I respect. So I want to. That's something I want to do. There's always room for growth, and I'm never satisfied, so to say.
Mm-hmm.
I always want more.
I think the qualities about you are a lot of the same qualities that Chuck has. So you don't mind working in the field, you like working in the field, and yet you understand, I think, that you would have to remove yourself from that to actually just lead the teams. And if you start another location, you'd have to jump in once in a while. And I think you have all those qualities that would make a good regional manager.
I hope so. I hope so. I mean, like I said, always want to grow and always want to step up and take on a new challenge. That's something I don't know. It's something I like to do. I like to challenge things and try to better myself on a daily basis.
So most Augustans are that way. We're always trying to get better, always seeking to grow. So what kind of podcasts and books do you enjoy listening to?
A lot of business podcasts. Like I said, that there's a great book by Elon Musk. I can't tell you off the top of my head right now. There's something also by Jeff Bezos, and that was something that Jason talked to me about earlier when I jumped on was Jeff Bezos started Amazon in his basement,
Yep.
and now you have Amazon delivering groceries to your house by a push of a button.
Yep.
It's things that we're capable of if we really put our mind to it and think out the boxes, which I learned. It's I can't even tell you, humans are capable of great things, but sometimes you got to think out the box.
So has that helped you think big picture a lot more?
I'm more than confident, of the bigger picture, owning another territory, and then from there growing another one. I don't want to say it's an ego thing. I definitely want to say that it's a humbling thing that someone entrusted me to run their business, and I grew it to that point. It would kind of be like, wow, you did it,
Mm-hmm. So how have you changed as a person? Obviously, his belief in you has caused you to have a lot more confidence in yourself.
Extreme more confidence in myself. I definitely changed in from being a field worker, and like I said, I jump in sometimes too. There's a lot of heat and emotions that fly, and people bounce things back off to each other. I had to learn how to control my emotions a lot better. I had to sit there and realize that everything's not personal. And I had to step back and breathe sometimes. I had to not show my emotions. Sometimes if I need to breathe, I'll step away and sit in the truck and meditate for 5 minutes. But
So you feel like you've had a lot of personal growth.
I do. And I didn't even notice it in myself. Other people had to point it out to me, because I'm, like I said, I'm my biggest critic. I do something great, but then if I step on somebody's shoe, I'm so angry with myself. So
this ties in a little bit for the listener, I think, and you don't have to respond or answer this if you don't want to, but how long ago was your separation from your wife?
My separation from her was about a little over a year ago.
And when you joined Augusta, what was her opinion of that?
When I joined Augusta, we were actually separated. You know, I there was no belief on that side of the things that I could accomplish. I
So
had to.
So
I
the
had to put it
relationship was more like tearing you down than encouraging you to move towards your goals.
It was. It was. Um, it's just I needed to, like I said, I needed to step away from that to see exactly what I can accomplish as a person. Instead of, I love her. Is my heart and my soul. She's the mother of my kids, but I needed to do this for myself to be a better person and be a better person for our kids, which is the ultimate goal. So.
Yeah, I asked that because that would be of interest to a lot of people. I know of young men that didn't really have a lot of chance in life, and they came to Augusta and they had girlfriends, and they actually had to break up
Yep.
because the girl loved the partying guy and the guy they could just have fun with, and the person changed. Like they started to believe they could do something, and they really started to go for their goals, and it didn't match what she wanted anymore.
That's the thing is people meet at different times in life. They can meet at a time where they're both on the same level, but people grow. So I don't want to say that there's resentments on anybody else's part or in a relationship, but sometimes a relationship, and I feel and I look at it, should be supportive. I should be supportive of my partner and what they want to do, and they should be supportive of what I want to do, because in my side, speaking for myself, this business, as well, Liz, it takes a lot of our time.
It does.
And it takes some resentments from that. So.
And that's why I asked if you were already separated, because doing Augusta at these times of the year, this busy time, it's all consuming. And I've had people join because their wives recognize that there's command center and their wife wants their husband back, and they don't want them doing estimates at night and all of that. So they're like, you have to join because I want Augusta there to help you. Yeah. And so that part of a business owner would be a real blessing, I think, for a couple to have some relief on that side. But to have a supportive partner is so vital to what we're doing. And it is not easy to be doing it alone. And so have you found that you get a lot of support from others in Augusta Nation because you don't really have the support at home?
I do. I get a lot of support from people, especially in our Facebook group. It's because you can see that you're not the only one going through this struggle. We all go through this struggle. We all get exhausted, and it's these guys, like I said, knowing I'm not alone, seeing the same experiences that happen with other people and how they dealt with it. That's how I listen and respect and try to change myself, learn from that, and move on. So
Yeah, that's phenomenal. So as we wrap up today, I don't know if you're a quote guy. I love quotes.
I
And so could you share a few that are important to you or that you actually try to live your life by?
there's one, and it's I've learned that I had a martial arts background, right? So I learned this when I was younger, and it's a Japanese proverb. It's a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step, and that's the single step is here, and the goal is endless. It's a long journey, and you could accomplish so many things, but you have to put your foot in the door first. So
That's so true. So if you were talking to another GM, do you have any advice that you would like to give to them or something to say that would encourage them?
I like to say that we all go through the same struggles. You could all reach out to us at any time. I speak to a couple owners or slash GMs here on Long Island. Command center is great. Obviously, Liz, you as well. Listening to Mike's masterminds. That's how I had to go in and learn through trial and error, and what worked. And what worked was the way that you guys instilled in us. So
Well, that's good to hear. So, I really appreciate your time today. I know for GMs, they have a real struggle on finding their place and to be humble enough to recognize their place and to be okay with that and to see themselves grow. And like for myself, I know that I could run a business on my own. I
yeah,
know that you could run a business on your own, but you come to a place where you realize that together, like you and the owner, me and Mike, together we can do so much more because of our different qualities that we have.
different ideas, different opinions, and then you find a solution together. What works. So.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. So I know that a lot of people struggle with that, especially with the delineation of the roles and like I'm going to touch this, you're not going to touch this, meaning I'm going to take care of this, you're going to take care of this and to recognize those boundaries with each other.
Yeah, not everything can be done by one person.
Yeah, for
We know.
sure. For sure.
We're all not Superman. I mean, sometimes I like to think I am, but that'll get smacked out of me real quick in a spring rush day. So
Yeah. Well, I'll let you get back to it and I'll get back to it. And I really appreciate your time today. And I know it'll be a blessing to a lot of people.
awesome, Liz. Thank you so much. I'm so grateful for you and everybody over there.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
Awesome. You too.
Bye bye.
Bye.